So the legendary Eros leaked after almost 2 decades of fakes and, you know, wild goose chases on the internet, like fake forums, fake leaks, fake links to be more accurate. All we really got were the demos for Smile, which did see an official but unofficial release by Chino in 2014 on the 1 year anniversary of Chi Chang's passing. And eventually, I think people put out like remasters of that song, and they've even performed it live at least a couple times since then, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, "Smile" is so great, just a fantastic song. So I've been listening to that one for well over a decade at this point. And of course, there's the demo Dallas, just like basically like a short little instrumental demo, not fully fleshed out, and a really rough bootleg recording of Melanie, which was played live in September 2008. That was one of the last times that Chi Chang would ever perform live. So this video is just covering a few things. It's not going to be like an out and out like review of the album because I will admit I have listened to it. I've listened to it twice now. Basically, I just like to explore, I guess, the psychology, for lack of a better word, of this leak, what it means for the fans, what it means for the band, and the overall mixed feelings involved. And I think this Reddit post from Matt71B on the Deftones subreddit kind of summarizes a lot of it pretty well. It goes as follows: Real talk about the Eros leak. Alright, so I guess we've all seen the news by now. Eros actually leaked today after like 18 years of myths and checking forums. It's out there. I know everyone is hyped and curious to finally hear it, but honestly, the more I think about it, the more it feels wrong. There's a huge reason why the band kept this locked away in a vault for nearly 2 decades. First of all, this was Chi Chang's final work before his accident in 2008, and for us, it's unreleased hype. But for Chino, Steph, Abe, and Frank, these files are literally the ghosts of their best friend. Reopening this stuff is probably incredibly painful for them. On top of that, the album isn't even finished. Chino said in interviews that while the instrumentals were mostly done, the vocals and lyrics were barely halfway there. What leaked is basically a bunch of rough drafts, demos, and unfinished ideas. No artist wants their unfinished raw work to be judged by the entire internet. They chose to bury this record and make Diamond Eyes because they needed to heal and move on from their darkest era. Forcing this into the light goes completely against what the band wanted. Anyway, I'm not going to act like a saint. I know we're all going to listen to it because it's human nature and we've waited forever. But just remember the context when you do RIP Chi. Now, overall, I agree with this post wholeheartedly. Now, while Chino said in interviews that the instrumentals were mostly done, but vocals and lyrics were barely halfway there, what's on the album wasn't going to be the final outcome, I guess you could say, when it comes to Chino's vocals and lyrics. But having heard the album, I keep in mind because I'm definitely going to give a lot of my personal opinions on this as a gigantic Deftones fan. My personal opinion is, for what it is, this album sounds way more complete than I was expecting. But I'll address that later. So odds are there were definitely a lot of finishing touches that Chino wanted to make. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Frank wanted to make as well, because there isn't as much keyboard and atmosphere on this album. It's definitely there, but you can tell vocal wise, Chino doesn't sound touched up at all. But like I don't blame people at all for like just not wanting anything to do with this just out of respect for the band. But I also understand like people are going to seek this out. People have been seeking it out for years and years and years at this point. So they're like people are gonna do what people are gonna do. For me, like it feels so wrong to be able to hear these songs, but at the same time, that's kind of what makes it more seductive. Like it's kind of more enticing, you know. So this morning, like as of recording, it's June 22nd, just a couple days after Chino's birthday, actually, and the release of White Pony. It's a celebrated birthday. Anyway, when I saw the posts this morning on Facebook and on Reddit about the Eros leak, I was curious because there are some naysayers in the comments like, "Oh, this is obviously AI," and I kind of pride myself on being able to tell like what is AI and what's not. So I opened up the YouTube link because there's a post on YouTube that had all 46 minutes of the album posted, and I gave the first minute of the opening track, Destiny, a listen, and I knew immediately that this was real. I can't explain the feeling that passed over me. And immediately I noticed like the bass lines that she put on that one, and that especially got me. It was just like it was like so right off the bat too. So then I got up, I got ready for work and everything, and so I put the album on. I listened to it throughout the morning. Um, just I listened to the entire thing out of morbid curiosity. It felt so wrong, but I think that just made it all just so much more enticing and appealing. And then just tonight, I listened to the whole thing again on these headphones here, and the songs became that much more pronounced and clear. And just to get this out of the way, I completely understand and empathize with fans who, out of respect for the band, refuse to listen to the leaks because they're leaks. The band didn't authorize this. They sold their entire catalog, the rights to their music, the master recordings, all of it to Warner Brothers, and so essentially all of their music has been in their hands for a minute now. And because of that, the risk of leaks just became a lot more pronounced, for lack of a better word. Personally, I mean, just because life is short, guys, I'd rather be alive today and hear what Eros is in its current form than die tomorrow and never get to hear it at all, like in any shape or form. Just never know. And when it comes to the band, um, there's this theory going around that maybe Warner leaked it on purpose just to gauge the reaction from fans, to see how much a remix, a remaster, and actually like producing the album would be favored. Um, which is obviously fucked up, but I mean, it's a major music label. Like major music labels are fucked up to begin with. And also there were like, it was said for a while that Eros would be like the last album that Deftones ever puts out, which I mean, it would be a great send off, I mean, it could be, or like maybe like some people see it as anticlimactic, like this is stuff from a bygone era, because that is really what this album is. I will admit that this is a bygone era. Even though I do think some of their best work is on it, I'm not even kidding you. I saw another fan remark that it sounds like the sigh of relief after the built up tension that was showcased on Saturday Night Wrist, and I do think that that's just such an apt description. And it's a release of tension in many different ways. There's a lot of soft material on this album, but there's also like a couple like really, really heavy moments. I'll say this: obviously, the album is unfinished. That is completely true. It can do with a proper mixing and mastering, like with some embellishments and actual effects on Chino's voice. Because damn, without the gloss and reverb that we've been so used to on recent Deftones albums, like he really stands out here. And this leak proves that he doesn't even need to be touched up to sound so good. And everyone sounds great. It's like being teleported back in time. It even made me rewatch Nocturne's video, the greatest album never released. I genuinely love a lot of the material on this thing. I love Destiny. I love Melanie. I love Sable and Tempest and Brianna. Brianna, of which is basically like the completed version of Dallas, the demo that floated around for years. And the version of Smile on here is inferior to versions I've heard online of like remasters of Smile that I think people have done. But a decade and a half of listening to Smile and Dallas, and like those demos, as well as the live bootleg of Melanie, as probably many hardcore Deftones fans have, borderline obsessing over the legend of Eros, which was shelved, unreleased, long lost back in 2008. It sounds surprisingly more complete than I ever expected, especially upon second listen. Because I've always maintained that like you don't really grasp an album entirely unless you listen to it at least 3 times. Pick apart the layers, um, learn the subtleties, the transitions, get a gauge on what it's saying, what the album is doing. It's just really funny because recently I actually put out a discography tier list of all their albums. For Eros, I don't even want to. It doesn't even feel right giving it a rating or a ranking. But I saw a couple people say, "Oh, this is better than Private Music." No, no, it's not. It's not. I'll say that right now. Either way, I am curious as to what the band will say about this. Because I don't think this is going away. There were multiple outlets that picked up on this and reported that the album was leaked. And it wasn't just Arrows either. I guess um, some Gore demos got leaked. I heard one of them at least. This song called Crest, and I've also heard some of the like the Ohms demos were leaked as well, and that included an unreleased song called Sensations, and it's really fucking good. So this has been quite the day for Deftones leaks. I mean, they did already do a B-sides and rarities. Is it possible that they can maybe get Terry Date back because he actually was working with them on this album and just put a few final touches on it and officially release it out to the world? Who knows? But it does go to show there is definitely an appetite for unreleased songs and demos. I wouldn't be surprised if they got together with the label and was like, hey, you have these unreleased songs. Maybe we can do a whole deluxe edition along with the release of this album, or like a B-sides and rarities part two, something like that. Because like ultimately, the like music labels only care about the bottom line. If they think that something could sell, which you bet your fucking sweet ass that brand new Deftones material that hasn't seen an official release, the light of day, would absolutely sell. Shit, I've been, I've been listening to unreleased Team Sleep demos from the mid 2000s for years at this point, and all that shit never got an official release. And there's like countless different songs, like 30 or 40 different demos that are just like floating in the ether. But yeah, it didn't take long for the leaks to get taken off of YouTube, but there are still files for the leaks out there. But I know that's probably going to be some people like, oh, well, what if it was your music? Would you want this to happen? It's like, first of all, I wouldn't sell my entire catalog to Warner Brothers. It's not a money thing because each of the members of Deftones are millionaires. Just to put things into perspective, what it does come down to is these were the final songs that Chi Chang ever recorded on, which makes it that much more sentimental and that much more valuable. It is a privilege to be able to hear these songs, which just makes the whole thing so weird. It feels so wrong, but it's also like I've needed this. I've needed this for years. That's basically like all I have to say. But the album is very, very good. You can definitely tell because they've even said it before. Like this is not their best work. They felt like the material was not strong enough, which is why they just scrapped the whole project and started fresh and worked on Diamond Eyes instead. And that was just a magnificent fucking album. Without a doubt, it blows Eros out of the water. I'll tell you that. Still, it is. I still think the material is worthwhile for an official release, and I hope some sort of arrangement or agreement um, gets put together, maybe sooner than later. I know the band wanted to put this out on their own terms, but they kind of gave that away the second that they sold their catalog and all of their masters because it opened up the possibility of someone at Warner getting a hold of these masters and releasing them, leaking them to the public, which is exactly what happened. Not just to this, but demos for Ohms and demos for Gore as well, to my knowledge so far. Anyway, please check out my Deftones discography tier list if that's something that interests you. Also, check out this Cross's tour shirt. It's dope, right? You can tell I'm a gigantic Chino fan. Anything he touches, I consider to be gold, whether it's Cross's Team Sleep or Palms. God, can we get some more palms, please? Anyway, subscribe if you could, please. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subs. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this entire situation. Don't be afraid to let me know your thoughts. And also, did you hear any of the leaks? I want to hear your opinion as well. Leave a like if you liked, or if you didn't. Check out my other videos as well. Hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a video or when I go live. And go listen to their demo called Finger of Death from 2004. It has one of the sickest Stephen Carpenter riffs ever recorded. Or don't. It just doesn't matter. As long as you enjoy.